Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we are continuing our mock draft series for the 12-team league full PPR edition. So if you haven't already, make sure you check out all the other videos I've got. And of course, I'll be putting out even more content right before the season kicks off to help you guys with your redraft. So let's jump into it. So I am here at the 7th spot of a 12-team league, which means we have already done 1 through 6. And if you haven't already, check out those videos to help you guys out because we are in mock draft season. And of course, the NFL is getting ready to start. We've got preseason activities starting to go on, obviously heavy training camps, a lot of really great stuff. And hopefully these videos help you guys out and kind of see where players are falling. Maybe they're rising. And of course, my analysis as far as players going in certain rounds and why I picked them. So let's jump into this. Now, being that it's a full PPR, you're going to see obviously a heavy amount in wide receivers between this team 5 to team 8. That's typically where you see it. Now you see players like the running back position, which I'm a big fan of the hero running back spot. If you can, grab a running back in the first round. Not necessarily reach though. Don't necessarily grab a running back because you need one, because you might still really get really high quality in the second round. Because at this point, you want to get a premier wide receiver if you can, if you can't get a player like Bijan or Barkley or something like that, because those guys will typically go earlier in most first rounds. So being in the 7th spot, your running backs right here that are available. You've got Derrick Henry, Genty, Devon Achane. Those players are great, and I think you might have a chance of getting them in the second round based off of where you are when you swing around. So for me, I'm going to go and grab that elite wide receiver that's going to put up a lot of safe floor, right? You want that safe floor because you don't want to mess up this. Now, looking at the options here, I've got Amon-Ra, you got Puka Nacua, Malik. Like those guys are great. For me, Amon-Ra is probably the safest bet when it comes to all those wide receivers, just because again, he's going to get plenty of targets. I do love Jameson Williams. I think he's obviously fantastic, but St. Brown is Goff's favorite target, and he'll see plenty of targets his way. So now you see the swing. First quarterback's off the board. A little early in my opinion. I've seen some drafts where most of those guys are going to go in the 3rd to 4th round. Your Josh Allen, your Lamar Jacksons, your Jaden Daniels. To me, Josh Allen in the early 2nd round, I would hold off. Totally up to you as far as your draft goes. You know your league mates better than I do, but I would probably wait to the 3rd or 4th round if you really want to get that stud quarterback. Now, the running backs went pretty heavy here. You got Genty, you got Henry, you got McCaffrey, Achane. So the really good running backs have left the field. With that said, though, you could go the wide receiver route. You've got a player like A.J. Brown, who's an absolute stud, and then maybe go a little bit later in the running back position. Or you can go Bucky Irving. You got Jonathan Taylor. You still have some really good running backs. I'm going to take the risk, and it's a little bit out of my typical draft. I'm going to go wide receiver here because I have the chance to possibly get Chase Brown in the 3rd, which is what I'm going to aim for. Doesn't necessarily mean he is there, but I'm going to skip over grabbing a Jonathan Taylor or Bucky Irving. I'm going to grab an elite wide receiver. And for me, I'm going to grab A.J. Brown. It's hard to have A.J. Brown sit there and not get picked. I've got to grab him in the 2nd round. So having Amon-Ra and A.J. Brown, I've got 2 players that I will not have to worry about. They're going to play and, again, get me plenty of points barring an injury. So now in the 3rd round, I am able to get my player like Chase Brown. It's just a perfect spot because Chase Brown can be an RB1. He has the potential this season. He's in a great offense. They are absolutely going to utilize him. He finished really strong last season, over 100 yards a game. And I believe he's going to continue that going forward, especially when you got 2 wide receivers like Higgins and Chase that you have to worry about. Brown is the 3rd option. Love that there in my 3rd round pick. So let's slow it down a little bit. Your top quarterbacks are gone, right? Your Jaden Daniels, your Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. So those guys are going to start flowing in the 3rd and 4th round. And again, I am going to be a heavy wide receiver running back type of drafter. Quarterbacks, maybe if it's a reach, like if Lamar Jackson was still here in the 4th, I'm going to grab him. But for me, I'm going to hold off and I'll grab my quarterback a little bit later. I've got to build depth and I've got to get my starters. So I've got my 2 wide receivers. I got my running back. I do need another running back. And of course I do need more depth. Now looking at the options here, you've got Amari and Hampton in a really run heavy offense, but you'll still have Najee Harris. You got Chuba Hubbard, who signed a great extension. played really, really well for Carolina Panthers. He's a really good option. I'm actually going to go Kenneth Walker here. I love Kenneth Walker in this spot. I know some people seem to think he's just injury prone. He really isn't. He has dealt with some injuries, which has put a stain on his career so far. I think when healthy, Kenneth Walker is a great running back as my second option. The other option would have been Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard is a really good option. You can't go wrong with either one of them. And of course, you see that they went back to back. Really good pick either way. I just like Kenneth Walker a little bit better, even though I do think the Carolina Panthers offense is going to be skyrocketing this season. I think they looked great towards the end. So I got my starters, I got my running backs, I got my wide receivers. Now I can look at the quarterback position, tight end position, or of course filling with depth. Now looking at the tight end position, a little bit of early reach for me. Hawkinson did come off of obviously an injury the last half of last year. Travis Kelce a little bit older. Andrews, like these guys you probably can still pick up later on. Looking at the quarterback position, Mahomes, Mayfield, Bo Nix, like these guys, again, can draft later on. You don't necessarily need to reach for those guys. So I'm going to fill my depth. I love Zay Flowers here. I love Xavier Worthy. And then, of course, I even love George Pickens. Like, I think he's in a good offense. And looking at these three options, Rashee Rice is out. Xavier Worthy was a big play. But the safe bet, and who's going to be more consistent, is Zay Flowers, especially in this offense. They're starting to really build something in Baltimore and have, again, a quarterback like Lamar Jackson throwing him the ball and making big plays. I love that spot for Zay Flowers as my flex. Now, I do want to fill more flex spots, right? You've got these one here, and of course you got your 5 bench on this particular roster. So I do want to fill that out. And looking at the roster build right now, I feel really good about my 2 starters. I feel good about Zay Flowers, and I love my running back so far of where I was able to pick them. Tight end, again, is a little bit of a reach. You saw a few come off the board, right? Hawkinson went there. You got Mahomes off the board. I would have loved to have gotten Tatora McMillan, because again, I think he's in a really good offense right now. He would have been a nice one. Now, I could go get a running back like Travion Henderson. We're not sure how this is going to really blend with him and Ramondre Stevenson. You got Aaron Jones here as a really good running back as well. I really think I could probably get like a Pollard on the next round, which is what I'm going to try to get, because I really like the wide receiver option here, and either Jalen Waddle, even a Chris Olave, or even a Jerry Jeudy. I love those options here. And of all of those wide receivers there, I like Jerry Jeudy a little bit more because of what he was able to do last season. Yes, there's a quarterback situation. We're not really sure how Cleveland's going to go about it. It does look like Flacco will be the guy. And honestly, when Flacco was in, Jerry Jeudy looked amazing. So I like this pairing of Jerry Jeudy as my backup, and I really like that spot there. Now, you saw the running backs go pretty heavy. It's a risk I took, right? I was really hoping I could get Pollard probably on the 7th round. He did go in the 7th round. He did not fall to me. He went pretty early. So I do have to start thinking about, okay, what else can I pick to fill out? Now, they're actually looking at the running back position here. I like Caleb Johnson and I like Tyrone Tracy. So those 2 options are really good backups. And again, I can even go wide receiver again if I want. Deebo Samuel, right? You got the McLaurin situation. You've got Roman Dunze, second year now in this offense. But I'm going to go Caleb Johnson because I really like him for Pittsburgh. I know he's not slated to be the RB1, but I don't expect Jalen Warren to be either. I do expect this to be a really mixed backfield, and Caleb Johnson has the opportunity to actually win this backfield. Big back, great runner out of college, and I think he fits more in line with what Pittsburgh wants to do, and I really like that spot. Again, he is a backup. I don't have to really stretch it. Now, would I have loved him to have been my 4th and not my 3rd running back? Sure, but I'll take the risk, and I like Caleb Johnson a lot there. Now, looking at this, I've got 3 more bench spots. I've got my quarterback, I've got my tight end, and of course, kicker and defense, which we'll talk about later. Now, looking at the options here, I'm not going to go quarterback because, again, still a little too early for me. I can still get someone there. I love Juwan Jennings here in this pick. 8th round, I think Juwan Jennings set up to have some really good success this upcoming season. I even like, if I want to get a tight end, I've got an option like Evan Ingram and David Njoku. Really good tight ends that I think have a lot of value going forward and can really add to this build. Now, looking at all my starters and a couple of my bench players, I will go the tight end route, and I'm actually going to go and grab Evan Ingram. I love this spot for him. I think he's in a good spot with Denver. He's obviously going to be a focal point outside of Cortland Sutton. Bo Nix did not have a solid tight end like he did like this upcoming season. And people forget, a couple years ago, Evan Ingram had seen plenty of targets away, over 100 receptions. And I think he can get close to that depending on how often they pass the ball for Denver. I really like that spot for Evan Ingram. So I pretty much have my full start except for the quarterback position, which again, I can get later on. It's all about depth at this point and value. Looking at the options here, I've got Matthew Golden, really solid rookie coming into the season. I do think Green Bay is going to utilize him and put him as a focal point. I love the Ricky Pearsall option here as well. And of course, Emeka Ibuka. I like Ibuka a lot. I think he's in a good spot in this offense. He's going to get plenty of targets, especially with Chris Godwin still coming off that injury, a little bit older. I think Ibuka looked really good in camp, and he is going to be the pick I have here. I do think he is a nice little sleeper coming up. I will be posting a sleeper video and some players that I think might shock you of who I absolutely want to leave every draft with. Ibuka is one of those players I really absolutely love. And again, I'm getting him in the 9th round. I'm not spending a lot of my draft capital, and I think he's going to be a nice little stud going forward. So 2 bench players, quarterback, all that, right? Looking at the quarterback position, I still think I can get Dak Prescott in the 11th round. Looking at the teams that are still going, everyone's got a quarterback ahead of me. So I'm the last team to get a quarterback. So I don't have to necessarily play, I've got to push him now. Now, again, getting some depth pieces. Michael Pittman, we'll see how it plays out with Anthony Richardson or maybe Danny Dimes. We'll see. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a safer play here in Ramondre Stevenson. Yes, they got the rookie in Henderson. Yes, I do think this new regime is going to probably utilize Henderson a little bit more. But Ramondre Stevenson did resign recently with them over a couple years ago, and he is still a really good back. So I like Stevenson there quite a bit. Even though I'm not expecting a lot out of him, he's a nice little depth piece for this roster. And again, worth grabbing in the late rounds. So I got one more bench in the quarterback spot. For me, I did kind of see a surprise here. Typically a team draft that has only one quarterback position. Most leagues, you probably see only one quarterback drafted. Very odd that you'll see 2. It happens occasionally. Some people, I've been in plenty of leagues where people will do that. Unless it's a super flex or a 2 quarterback league, you don't need 2 quarterbacks. Only to fill for waivers off of the season during bye weeks and injuries and things like that. So did I get Dak Prescott? No. I do think he's a great option there. I could have even grabbed CJ Stroud. I think he's going to have an upside season even after a porous sophomore season. But now I've got to get my quarterback position because now there's a chance that the rest of this league starts to grab quarterbacks. So looking at the quarterback options, not in love with it. So looking at this draft, I would have loved to have gotten Dak. Again, he's the one player I feel you can get really late that has a lot of strong value. So looking at the quarterback players that are available, you've got Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Stafford, Tua, Bryce Young, who I really like. So there's still a lot of good options. I'm actually going to end up going and grabbing JJ McCarthy. Odd. I'm not the biggest JJ McCarthy fan, but I absolutely love his wide receivers. I love his tight end. I love the running backs. This offense is set up for JJ McCarthy to have success. It really is on him to obviously put that and turn that around. And I think he has potential. Obviously, we didn't see a huge amount of that out of Michigan. He had some really great games and he had some games that were average. But I do like JJ McCarthy there. Now, last position I've got to fill, I can go running back, wide receiver. I've even seen people go tight end. I'm actually going to go and grab Tank Bigsby as my last running back option, just because I do think running back is a little bit harder. You can get a lot more wide receivers off of waivers than, say, the running back position, especially if Bigsby does end up having a lot stronger value. And, as far as options when it comes to Jacksonville, we're not sure how much Jacksonville loves Etienne. I like Etienne, but he has had games where he struggled. So Bigsby's a nice little option to pick up. Now we got to get my kicker and defense. You got to have them on your roster. Again, I am a big believer of getting a defense or kicker that is on a team that just has that type of I guess you would say rhythm and consistency of the last few years. So I'm going to grab the Minnesota Vikings defense. Underrated, but very good defense. And then I'll grab my kicker on the last round, which again, you want a kicker that's in a high-powered offense or an offense that is going to get down the field and may falter a little bit. So you want to get a team like that we can get the kicker. And I'll grab Tyler Loop for the Baltimore Ravens. He looks really good in camp. Again, replacing a potential Hall of Fame kicker that has had some issues, of course, but Loop is in a good offense that's going to get down the field. So that is my draft at the 107 spot. Let's talk about it. All right, so that is my draft for the 7th spot of a 12-team full PPR league. Now, of course, it didn't go quite the way I wanted at the quarterback position, but there were some really good spots, really good plays. I love the start of that 2 wide receiver option, which is not my typical format of how I draft, but it is a good way to kind of show you some ways to kind of make things happen. Your drafts are always going to be kind of random. You have to know your league mates really well to kind of really get this deep dive and knowing what players you can grab. You might have some players, maybe you're joining leagues that are anonymous. You don't know who they are. So these hopefully help you guys kind of get a strategy and understanding of where players are falling, where they're going, and why I picked certain players and why I may not have. If you guys have questions, of course, of anything, whether it be dynasty or redraft related, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, hit that like button as well. And of course, if there are different formats, let me know. I'll get those out as soon as possible to help you guys out, whether it's full PPR, half PPR, whether it be a 10-team league, full, tight end premium, whatever it may be. I would love to help you guys out. So again, subscribe, like, and I'll check you guys out next time.